It's the story of Steve Montador, who was a player in the NHL for about 10 years and mostly with Calgary, but with 5 other teams as well. He was a defenseman and fairly much of a journeyman defenseman, and who at the age of 35 he died. And in the last couple of years in particular in his career, he had a series of concussions. And it really is with the idea of trying to convey the stakes in terms of head injuries. And so instead of it just being a player who's out of the lineup for a couple of weeks and then back, is that what's the life effect? What happens when you do have head injuries, and how do you change, and how does really your whole life change? I had written articles about concussions for maybe 4 years before or so, when the Globe and Mail and La Presse and in Grantland. And I was getting to a point where I realized that another article wasn't going to make any difference. I mean, that there was that much more awareness, but there wasn't that much more action. And so I thought that what the whole discussion needed was something that was pretty comprehensive, and that starting with the person, and so anybody who's a decision maker would know the effect of the decisions they took. Also, to go into the science of it, to understand the role that science plays in this, but also the role that it doesn't play. And the other was just in terms of the game, of the nature of a game, because so much of any kind of discussion like this is that even if somebody accepts the fact that the way things aren't isn't the way it should be, then what? I mean, how do you change a game? I mean, the game's the game, it is what it is, and it has always been and always will be. So to get into all of those questions as a way then of saying, here is the problem, and here's the way that we can get ourselves out of it. I think that they just don't know their hockey history. I mean, that the purists like to say that again, that game is always the game. That's why I decided to take the story back to hockey's beginnings at McGill in 1875, and a game that was played with no substitutions, a game that in its first 50 years until 1929 was played without a forward pass. You could not pass the puck forward. A game that even by the late 50s, when I was a kid watching games on television that I thought were played by players going 100 miles an hour, later watching full game action and discovering how slow the games were. And they were slow because the shifts were long. The game that I played in the 1970s was significantly faster because it was a dump and chase game. That players weren't carrying the puck, and carrying the puck slows you down. But if you dump it ahead, then you can chase after it. Well, if you chase after it and you're going faster, you get tired out sooner. And so the shifts were down to about a minute. Well, now they're down to about 35, 38 seconds, but it's with possession. That it's passing and moving the puck, up the ice, in control. So it's a game like a sprint. So a game that has much less space, much less time, many more collisions, and many more forceful collisions because of the speed, and also in part because the players are bigger. And so it generates a different kind of injury. So, all of this notion about, this game, and you can't, and all of these things are integral parts of it. I mean, it gets blown apart. All you need to do is look. I mean, and one of the, it's not just a problem in sports. It's in any, is that we enter things knowing, and we stop seeing, And what we need to do every so often is see what's there, not already know what's there. And because chances are what we know isn't quite right, things have changed. And we need to see those changes that have happened to make those adaptations. This is one book that I've done where the idea was that when it's done, things aren't done. Normally you write a book, goes into the stores sell them for a while, other books come in, take their place, and your tour is over and you get on to whatever next is in your life. The idea of this book was, no, this is the beginning, this isn't the end. It is to create a reference point, and it's all about different decisions. This book will fail if significantly different decisions are not made, irrespective of how many books it sells or anything else. This is about changing the decisions that are being made. Here's the how of it, and the terrific news is that it is a completely doable how, and that inaction when you have no idea what to do is one thing. Inaction when the answers are easy is inexcusable. So it's to try to create the conditions and the circumstances where it is quite easy actually to make the decisions that need to be made.